Alright, let's see if we can get this focus thing right this time. My hair is still a little damp. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Hopefully I got this focus thing right in this video. Anyway, today we're going to be wrapping up the month of July. I had a very good month. I got so many book of the months read. Mostly I got all these done by listening to them because I can just keep my earbuds in my ear 24/7 and get things done, get books read. It's all good, especially if the narration is really good too. I read slash listened to, mostly listened to 16 books in the month of July. Super excited about that. We started off the month with Summerween, and I got a good bit read during that time. So it's been a really good reading month. So we'll start off with the beginning of the month. I started my month off with Horrified by Katrina Leno. This is a young adult horror. I didn't really care for this. I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't really like the narration either as well. I tried to read it, but I just got bored with it, honestly. And the narration, as far as that goes, there was no distinction between characters, so it was hard to figure out who was speaking at the time. We mainly follow Jane, and she's telling us the story. Her and her mother moved back to her mother's hometown after her father's passing. They moved back into the house that Jane's mother grew up in. There's apparently something happened in that house. I was more interested in what happened to Jane's mother back in the day because clearly there's something that happened to her. She's kind of being weird throughout the story. But the house is considered to be haunted, and there is some paranormal, ghostly activities happening here. But when we find out what happened and everything about with Jane's mother, I really wasn't that impressed. And then I really didn't like the way it ended. So that was kind of a bum start to Summerween, but we moved on from there. I picked up Mallory by Josh Mallory. This is the second book in from like Bird Box. Bird Box was really good. Definitely my favorite between the two. This one was okay. I think I gave it a 3-star. Once again, we're following Mallory as she's making her way blindly through this book. At the end of Bird Box, I don't want to give anything away, but Bird Box, I guess, could have ended. We pick up right where Bird Box left off. Again, don't want to say too much, but we find ourselves once again on the run from these creatures. But this time we have Tom and Olympia, which are Mallory's 2 kids that were very young in Bird Box. And then they're grown up into teenagers because we're going it's like 10 years later. We kind of pick up in the beginning, we pick up where we left off, and there's some stuff that's happening there. And then we jump forward 10 years to current times. And now we're getting the point of view from Tom and Olympia. I really did enjoy that about the book, getting a bit of a different perspective other than Mallory, because Mallory's just kind of like, I really liked her in the first book, but she's been through enough. She's been through it. So in this book, she's just kind of tired, you know. Tom and Olympia add a little life to the story. Tom is a little bit on the rebellious side. He kind of wants to know more about these creatures. Olympia is more safe. She just wants to keep her mother and her brother safe. She wants to follow the rules, that kind of thing. But she's still young and she's still vibrant. She's still curious. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the story, and I did like how it all ended in the end. So yeah, a good wrap up to this little series. Unless there's going to be more, I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't think so, because it was kind of wrapped up, in my opinion. Next was Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I think I gave this a 3.5 star. Not my favorite Grady Hendrix, but it was still a lot of fun. We're following Amy. Amy works at Orsk. How do you say it? Orsk. It's definitely a play on IKEA. Her and some of her co-workers end up staying the night due to some breaking and entering kind of situation going on at the store. So they're hoping to catch whoever's, you know, doing the things that they're doing once they get into the store. And that kind of ends up turning into what goes on when the lights go out. Things start appearing as night falls, different writings on the walls, and just we run into different kind of scary events. I got a little bored towards the end when the action started to happen. I was just like, okay, I get it. Let's move along. Not as disgusting as I would say like My Best Friend's Exorcism or the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which was my favorite out of all the Grady Hendrix that I've read so far. But this was fun. It was a really good twist on, you know, like IKEA, and I really enjoyed how the chapters started with like an item, and it had like the weird names just as like IKEA does. If you like Grady Hendrix and you like a little humor in your horror, I would definitely give it a shot. It was just fun. It wasn't my favorite, like I said, but it's a good time. I threw a little male romance into the mix just because, you know, it's me. I gotta have a male romance somewhere when I'm reading. So I threw in P.S. I Spook You by S.E. Horman. This was very sexy with a little ghostly fun thrown in there. We follow Rain. Rain is an FBI agent. He can see dead people, basically. He is sent back to his hometown to work on a cold case where his ex-boyfriend is. They still have feelings for each other. So we get some, you know, some good sexual tension between the two of them, some good fun between the two of them. They still both love each other. So that was fun. Like, it wasn't like drama filled. It was just a fun, ghostly kind of book. And we get, you know, we get him kind of solving this case due to him being able to speak to the undead and figuring out what happened to this person. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Can't wait to continue on with the series. Next up, I read Hannah Beast. This is by Jennifer McMahon, which I was really excited about because I've only read one book so far by Jennifer McMahon. I really did like it. But this is a short story that I chose to read in the dark. It was available on Kindle Unlimited. So I went ahead and I gave it a go. It has to do on Halloween night. These girls go trick-or-treating. One of them is dressed up as a beast, and her name is Hannah. So the girls are calling her Hannah Beast. It does have to do with bullying. Not that I don't like reading about bullying. I don't appreciate bullying at all. I mean, I've read plenty books with bullying in them, but it was such a short story. And it was, you know, based on this bullying effect. But we're following one of those girls from current times, and then she's taking us back to like 1985 or something like that, on Halloween night, and what happened to Hannah. Her and Hannah were kind of actually friends, but, you know, she was in this group of girls that were always messing with Hannah, so she, you know, she had to be with the in crowd, which really pissed me off to begin with. And then, you know, it goes about to tell the story of what happened to Hannah on that night. There was a little bit of a good twist at the end, and you got to pay really close attention to it because it's kind of fast. Because I had to go back and I was like, wait, what? So that was really the only thing about this book that I really liked. Other than that, I just didn't like the whole bullying of the story. And like I said, it was a short story, so it was all based on that, and I just didn't like it. Moving on to Book of the Months. Why do I keep doing jazz hands? I need to control myself. I started at the beginning. I just took Like earliest, this was February 2021. So this is Girl A by Abigail Dean. I was very intimidated by this book, which is why I have not picked it up, because I knew it had to do with like child neglect and abuse and things like that, and that's really hard for me to read. But we did it, and it wasn't as intimidating as I thought it was going to be. Yes, the things that happened to these children were horrible, but the story was actually pretty good. I gave it a, what did I give this? I gave it a 3.5 star. We're mainly following Girl A, which is Lex. She's kind of taking us back. We are in current times, but she's taking us back to what all happened, how it all went down with her and her brothers and sisters. So we start getting, each chapter is like, and there's not chapters, I say each segment of the book we get a different story. So like, okay, there is a chapter, like chapter 2 was Boy A, Ethan. So, you know, we start with the oldest children. Lex is the oldest daughter, so she's Girl A, and she's kind of taking us through each of her brother and sisters and where they're at current times in their life and what happened that to get them to these current times back when everything went down. But what I didn't really understand was like what really, I mean, I know what happened, but like what made that happen? I'm still not grasping onto that. And like the parents were horrible. But anyway, like I said, it wasn't as intimidating as I thought it would be, and I actually sort of kind of enjoyed the ride. I mean, it wasn't the most impressive story, and in the end, you know, there's like this slight little twist. I don't really see this as being a thriller. More of like just a mystery of what happened to these kids, and more like just family drama. I don't know, but there is a like slight little twist that I was just like, oh, okay. You know, it wasn't very impressive. It ended pretty good. In my opinion, I think I did listen to this one. I really enjoyed the narration. So if you haven't dove into this one yet, if you can get your hands on the audio, I do recommend the audio. It was very, very good. As well as like the horror store. I highly recommend the audio for the horror store. It was fantastic. I don't have this next book with me, but next up I picked up True Story. This was actually the first one. I actually picked this one up at the beginning of the month, and then I kind of put it down. But I was very intrigued to get to this story. This is by Kate Reed Petty. I actually read this one. I did not listen to the audio. I heard the audio was not good, which I can understand because the format of this book is very different from anything I've ever read, but I appreciated it. I really like different formats that we get sometimes in a book, and this was just fascinating to me. So we follow Alice and Nick, and we get a bunch of timelines. We start off with Alice's story in 2015. Alice is wanting to be a horror writer. She's always loved horror, as far as like movies, books, anything goes kind of thing. But her life sort of took a turn in high school. I believe it might have been her senior year in high school. I don't remember. We get snippets of her story, and then we get Nick, who was involved in an incident that involves Alice back when they were both in school in like 1995. No, 1999. Sorry, I'm thinking of me. I graduated in 95. This was 1999. We get the story of Nick, how, you know, what just kind of what character he was. But the way Nick telling his story is like, it's so hard to explain this book, y'all. I thought it was fascinating. I gave it 4 stars, I think. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was just really fascinating, just the way it was written out. But something happened to Alice in 1999 that it didn't necessarily involve Nick, but Nick was sort of within that group of people that so-called this happened to Alice. Throughout the book, we're just getting 15 years of information, and how Nick how this affected Nick's life and how it affected Alice's life. There was such a twist at the end. I was just like, what? I know I don't want to give too much away, but oh, shoot, it was awesome. I don't. It's hard to, like I said, it's very hard to talk about this book. I gave it to Debbie for her to read because I want her opinion and just see how she feels reading this book. I think she will like it because Debbie likes, you know, different weird things, kind of like I do, sometimes more than I do. So I think she would appreciate this book. But anyway, 4 stars. I loved it. Then I picked up The Half Sister. This was a Thrills and Chills. It was an add-on, so it really wasn't a book of the month, so it doesn't have the date on the back. But this was pretty good. I gave this 4 stars as well. So we're following 2 sisters, and one day this young woman shows up and claiming to be their stepsister. Their mother kind of goes ballistic about it. So we have one sister that's very skeptical about this young woman, and then we're following the other sister that really wants to take this young woman in and figure out who she is and go from there. It has to do a little bit also with like one sister envying the other, and they both kind of, it's almost like they don't really know each other. Like there's just no communication between the 2 sisters. Like they don't know the real person because one is envying the other and the other is envying that, you know, one is having trouble having a baby, and the other one has, you know, like two young boys, and she's kind of like envying her and her perfect little family. And then the other sister is envying the other sister because, you know, she doesn't have the weight of kids on her shoulders. She's got a great job. She has a great husband. So there's kind of stories there with the 2 sisters, and it was just intriguing. I could not put it down or couldn't stop listening to it. I did listen to this book. The narration was very, very good. It definitely kept me guessing. Like I just couldn't figure out like what the heck was going on. I really enjoyed it. The Lost Apothecary. I love this book. It was just different. It was, you know, nothing like great or, you know, it was just fantastical kind of book. It was different than what I've been reading. It was like a step away from male romance, a step away from thrillers, horror. It was just like kind of refreshing. So this is by Sarah Penner. This was a March 2021 pick for Book of the Month. We follow Caroline, who's having like sort of a little trouble in her current life. And so she decides to take this vacation, and she finds this apothecary bottle on this little adventure thing that she goes on vacation. And being like the historian that she is, she dives into the history of this bottle. And then from there we get like backstory. We follow Nell as well, who was the owner of the Lost Apothecary back in like 1880. Wait, let me check. I'm sorry, 1791. We follow Nella. It's Nella. We follow Nella and her story about the apothecary and how it came about. She mixes potions to basically give to other women to kill their husbands or whoever may be doing untowards toward them. And then we also follow Eliza. Eliza is 12 years old, and she's going to the apothecary to fetch a bottle of something for her mistress. And Nella explains very well and very much in detail what she must do and how she must go about getting things done. It was just very interesting, very good. I loved all the characters. I loved the little twist at the end, the magical realism of it. It was just so much fun. So yeah, we get Caroline and her story and how she twines in with the apothecary, and then we get the whole apothecary story with Nella and Eliza and how it all panned out and like what happened to this apothecary. Loved it. 5 stars. Next up, Too Good to Be True. This was also a March 2021 pick. This is by Carola Lovering. I hope I'm saying that right. I gave this 4 stars. This was actually pretty good. I couldn't put it down. I did listen to this. The narration was phenomenal. We get 3 point of views. We get Heather. We follow her in like 1989, so we get like her story. Heather is the wife of Burke, or maybe the ex-wife of Burke. It can be a little confusing. Burke, we actually get his journal entries starting back in 2018 when he met Sky. So we follow Sky from like current times. All very fascinating. I didn't know what to believe, who was telling the truth, because there's so many stories going on in here. We got Heather's story, we got Burke and his journal entries, and later on we get like his true story, or so to speak. And then we have Sky. Sky's just kind of neutral, and she's just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. It was very enticing. Like I said, I couldn't put it down, and the narration was phenomenal. Next, I picked up Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This wasn't a Book of the Month pick, but it was a add-on. This is part of the Thrills and Chills, it says on the back. Super excited to read this book, but sadly I was a little let down. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to read Riley Sager again. I mean, it was still, I did appreciate the end. I appreciated the end. The part in italics at the very end, sort of like the epilogue part, I really appreciated that twist of the story. I was just like, wait, what? But the rest of the time, I was really honestly just bored. So we're mainly following Charlie. She gets into a stranger's car. This dates back to 1991, so there's no like cell phones or anything like that. No like Uber or, you know, other transportation. So she like goes and puts a note up to have somebody drive her home, which part of me was like, why didn't you just get your boyfriend to drive you home? But anyway, her best friend was murdered by the campus killer, and she just can't see herself staying on campus, so she just leaves, and she hitches a ride with this Josh guy, and the whole time she's like going back and forth, like, could this be the campus killer? So it's just a lot of back and forth with that. We get a little bit point of view from Josh, like just a little bit. We also get a little point of view from the boyfriend, but it's mostly Charlie we're following, and just her inner monologue was just annoying to me. But everything she did, I was just like, no. It was almost like watching a slasher film, and you're like talking to the main character, and you're just like, what are you doing? No, that is not the right thing to do. But we get to the end, and I kind of understood why these events took place in that kind of way. Like I said, I appreciated the ending. I was a little bored with the rest of the story. I could see this as being a movie. We're gonna go with that. It could be a really good slasher film. Next, I read Painted Lace by K.M. Newhold. This was such a breath of fresh air. After reading all these thrillers, I picked up this male romance. K.M. Newhold, I have just adored all her books. This was just fun and lighthearted. It didn't have like a lot of drama or angsty. It was just fun. There was a little, like, I could see maybe miscommunication between our two characters, but other than that, like I said, it was a breath of fresh air. So we have Keaton. Keaton is an artist, and he likes to live life one day at a time. He just takes odd jobs. He doesn't have like a normal job. He just takes odd jobs here and there just to put food on the table and pay his rent. And then we have Austin, who is very organized. He's an accountant. He works, kind of works for his best friend. I think it's like the family company or something, but he doesn't necessarily not like his job. He's like wanting a little bit more in his life. He's wanting a little flair. He gets an invitation to his ex-boyfriend's wedding, and he's like, okay, I need to take control. I need to do something. I need to get laid. So he gets on the M for M app, and he finds Keaton. So they hook up for one night, but they can't seem to really get enough of each other. And it was just so much fun to have like this like straightforward kind of guy, and then like Keaton, who's just like all over the place. You never know what he's gonna do. It was just a lot of fun. Like I said, it was like no drama, no angst, a little miscommunication between the two guys, but other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Next is Finding Ian. This is the second book in the Finding series by Riley Hart. I actually just finished this. It took me a while to get through. Like, it wasn't, I gave it 4 stars because it really was a good story, but I found myself not wanting to pick it up because I was just like, oh, how much more sex can we have? I mean, I get it, but it was between 3 men, 2 younger men and 1 older man. So it's sort of an age gap, and it's a dom and sub kind of story. A little bit of BDSM, not a lot, some role playing going on. It's definitely a different lifestyle kind of thing. We're following Ian, Jordan, and David. Ian is our character that he's just not sure that's the lifestyle for him, but he's very curious about it. Plus he's really attracted to both Jordan and David. Jordan is his friend, and they meet in the first book. Ian is actually Finley's friend. Anyway, Jordan is a little bit more, he definitely wants to get into the lifestyle. He's definitely more of a submissive. And then we have David, who is our dom, but he can also switch and be a sub, which he sometimes craves, but not all the time. And Ian kind of is more submissive, but he sort of wants to dig into being a dom. So David just is infatuated with both these guys, and he wants to explore what they can have together. So it's a story between these 3 men. It was fun. I really enjoyed each individual story and like what was going to happen to each of them, or what paths were they going in their lives, and you know, how they met in the middle and how they made it work. I was really interested in that. I was just, after so much, I was just like, okay, are we having sex again? It was a little much, but all in all, I still enjoyed it. Back to my book of the month picks. This is How Lucky. This was a May 2021 pick. In this book, this was interesting. I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. We follow Daniel. Daniel's a little bit of a different character than I've ever read. Daniel has type 2 SMA, so he is in a wheelchair the entire time. He can't really do a lot of things for himself, but he does live on his own, although he has like his best friend Travis that comes over and feeds him lunch or takes him places. He has his pretty much daily caretaker, Morjani. She takes, you know, she gets him up in the morning, kind of gets him ready for the day, and then she comes in the evening and she gets him ready to go to bed. And then he has 2 sort of orderly guys that come in the middle of the night and have to flip him over. It was very fascinating, and it was very educating to learn like what this character has to go through on a daily basis. But he's just like this is, you know, this is my life. I'm living it the best I can. So we have that, and then thrown in there we have like a little bit of a mystery where he sees a young girl being taken, or she gets into this car and she's never seen again, so she goes missing. And Daniel thinks that he knows who at least he, you know, he can kind of describe the car and a little bit of the guy that he saw her get in the car with. But it's very hard for him to explain that to you know, to someone, to the cops, because he He has like a little type pad that he can talk through, but I think it's sort of difficult for others to really understand what he's trying to say. So he tries to get like Travis to call the cops, and it was just fun and different. Like the ending wasn't anything like spectacular, you know, like, you know, we find out what happened to the young woman, but I was just more interested in Daniel himself and his lifestyle, and it was just very educational and interesting to read. The last thing he told me was my last book of the month pick that I read in the month of July. This was also May 2021's pick. This was okay. Once again, I gave it 3 stars. It was good. Like, I didn't want to put it down. I did listen to this. Oh, I listened to this one as well. Very good narration on this one. This narration on this one was good too. But we're following Hannah. Hannah gets like this note from her husband Owen saying, protect her. I think that's what it says. Yeah, protect her. So, and she's, you know, obviously it's from Owen, but, you know, what does he mean? He ends up going missing, and we just sort of follow the story from there, and it's mostly Hannah's point of view. She doesn't have a very good relationship with her stepdaughter Bailey. I really enjoyed how this story and the fact that her father went missing brought them together. I mean, I hate that him having to go missing brings them together, but it was hard in the beginning, but the two really started to get a hold of each other and just lean on each other. So I really enjoyed that part of the story. But other than that, like, I was intrigued. I wanted to know what happened. Where did he go? Did he just disappear? Did he have to make himself disappear? Is he dead? What the hell happened? And then we start getting into that part of the story, and I'm just like, huh? So I don't know if like my brain just wasn't up to speed and I just couldn't really like go with it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm really understanding what is happening and like the reason he went missing or possibly dead. I don't know, but I enjoyed the story up until and I don't want to say up until then. I just didn't really like get the whole thing of it, but all in all, it panned out pretty well in the end. And lastly, I read Heartscape by Garrett Lee. This is part of the Vino and Veritas. Sorry, I was saying that wrong also in my last video. This is part of that series. This is book 2. I did listen to this because Michael Dean was a narrator, and he's like one of my favorite male romance narrators. But in this one, we follow 2 guys that both have had a little bit of some past trauma. They both have a little bit of PTSD going on, and they just become friends and just help each other heal throughout their friendship that eventually turns into lovers. So definitely a friends to lovers story. We follow Jax and Tanner in this story. Tanner actually manages the wine bar, and Jax is sort of in the area. I think he might be fairly new to the area. Something happens to his place, it catches on fire. He needs a place to stay. Tanner lets him sleep on his couch, and they just form like this friendship, and then, you know, eventually get to like really know each other and really fall for each other. And like I said, they help each other kind of heal. They both had some fairly traumatic events that happened to them in the past, but it was a very touching story. I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars for this one. I'm going to continue diving into the Vino and Veritas series for the month of August. See how many I can get through. They're very easy to get through, and they're all on script. I think I mentioned this in my last video. The narration so far has been really fun for me. Of course, if I run across one that I don't like, I'm just going to switch to the book, because they're also available on Kindle Unlimited. But I will definitely let y'all know how that goes at the end of August. But yeah, that was everything that I read in the month of July. Whew, that was a lot. I thought about dividing this into 2 videos, like doing like book of the month reads, and then but then I was like, we'll just throw it all together. But I'm down to only 3 book of the months on my book of the month TBR shelf, as well as I have some more coming. I have two more 2 more books coming. I did, when I picked my book of the month for August, I definitely did an add-on. I just can't not do an add-on. Might have done it one time and I regretted it. I mean, you're getting another book for like 10 bucks. A hardcover, nice copybook. I can't not get an add-on. But anyway, so yeah, 2 more books are coming, so that's going to be 5 total book of the month TBRs. But I'm going to get through it. We're going to do it. Thank y'all so much for watching, as always. Hope y'all are all doing well out there and staying safe. It's getting scary again, so please stay safe. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all very, very soon in a new video. Bye, y'all.